Council agenda, Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Township Council agenda meeting of February 6th, 2018. Posting of notice. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Publics Meeting Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building and on the municipal website on December 20th, 2017, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27th, 2017, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers on December 20th, 2017. Note, council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net. Please rise for the flag salute. Mr. DePiero, if you would.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
here.
Ms. Grignani,
Present.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Here.
Ms. Peterson,
Here.
Mr. Carriffy.
Here.
Also in attendance are Business Administrator Ellen Sandman, CFO Ann Cucci, Township Attorney Jim Lott, and Township Clerk Colette Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, February 20th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m., regular meeting. March 6th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m., agenda meeting. Approval of minutes, annual reorganization meeting, January 1st, 2018, agenda meeting, January 2nd, 2018, regular meeting, January 23rd, 2018. Presentations, reports. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Good evening. Good evening, Parsippany. Thank you for coming here. Okay, as your new mayor, I've been enjoying myself getting to know the members of the employees here at Town Hall and at our other utilities. I'm a blue-collar guy. I came up 25 years working in electricians union, working with my hands. I know what it takes to work a difficult, long day in difficult conditions to bring home the bacon, as it were, and put food on the table. I'm also someone who appreciates people who have mastered their craft, who have honed their skills and take pride in their work. This evening I would like to talk about the Parsippany water facility and the water department that we have here in Parsippany. I would like to call up John Wywerka and all of the members present of the Parsippany Water Department. Please come on up, gentlemen and ladies. And ladies. Stay right here. Some guys can come up here. Split it up easily. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a very interesting January, and it was certainly a way for Mother Nature to break in the new mayor, but quite frankly, it wasn't about the new mayor at all. It was about these gentlemen up here and their colleagues who work very hard every day to keep Parsippany hydrated. Now, understand, I mean, the simple thing in science, when things are super cooled and then heated up, then cooled and heated up, they become very fragile. And during the course of 1 week, we had how many water main breaks?
In 1 week, we probably had 12 between valves and main breaks. We had 12.
And then for the full month of January, about how many do we have? 30. 30. Okay. 30 water main breaks. And there was one day where we had about 7 or 8 of them, right? Okay, we had crews all over the place. These hard-working men were working all kinds of hours to keep this town going and to keep on our infrastructure. And I just thought that needed to be acknowledged. And I really wanted to applaud their efforts and to point it out to everyone here in Town Hall and to the Township of Parsippany. And for you to understand, we have some really good people working here that are doing a phenomenal job in keeping Parsippany #1 and keeping it beautiful. So it is my honor to present this certificate of appreciation, and I will read it as follows. Certificate of appreciation presented to Parsippany Water Department in appreciation for their service, commitment, and support to the community. Thank you for your dedication to our town and its residents.
Jimmy, you gotta get close.
All right, Frank, that's enough. I can't see you. Thank you so much. Thank you. No, brother, thank you very much. Thank you very much. John, thank you. That's my
That's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Good job.
Before I start with my second part of the report and my last presentation, okay, I'd like to acknowledge the presence, okay, of two people here that are important to Parsippany and important to me and serve as mentors and advisors. You put the name former in front of there, but I'd just rather say it as Mayor. Mayor Mimi Letts. And Mayor/Judge Michael Luther. Last year we lost a hero of mine and a valued member of our community here in Parsippany, and a man who was part of our history. And that was our former Mayor Henry Luther. All right, I gotta be careful. Henry was very special to me, and special to the Luther family and to the Parsippany community. Every time I saw him, he had nothing but encouraging and kind words for me, and probably was the first person that ever told me, you should really run for office way back when. So, any people who voted against me, that's who you have to blame, all right? But Henry was not about partisanship. He was about Parsippany. And that was certainly an example that I wanted to follow through. And he cared and loved this town and the people in this town. So let me just give a little reminder to those who didn't know Henry or what he was about. Because when I would try to call him Mayor Luther, he said, no, just call me Henry. So, Henry was raised in Jersey City. He was born Henry N. Luther III. Now, he had many roles in his life: husband, father, champion swimmer, Marine sergeant, railroad signal operator, lawyer, councilman, mediator, negotiator, council president, Parsippany mayor, lottery commission director, governor's chief of staff, and Brendan Burns' campaign manager. However, the role he was proudest of was grandfather. His role as Poppy to his grandchildren was a role he zealously accepted. Henry was predeceased by his sisters Jean Sunyak, Marilyn Riley, Joan Goseljak. How did I do on that one, Michael? Okay. And his beloved wife Irene and his son Matthew. He is survived by his daughter Patty, his son Michael, and his daughter-in-law Pegeen. His grandchildren, Sarissa Cafaso, Lauren Luther, H. Nicholas Luther IV, Connor Luther, Matthew Luther, and as well as many cherished nieces and nephews. In addition to his family, Henry is survived by his beloved companion, Marge Sullivan. You know, I bumped into Marge, what was it, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago here in Town Hall? And that was just when Governor Brendan Byrne had passed away. And I believe the way Marge said it, well, at least Henry now has someone that will laugh at his jokes up in heaven. So it is with that I would like to read this proclamation into the record. From the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, this proclamation. Whereas the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills honors the late Henry N. Luther III as an extraordinary example of a man who dedicated his life to public service in his town, state, and country. Whereas we commend his recognition as an outstanding member of his platoon in the United States Marine Corps, as well as a recipient of the Good Conduct Medal on January 16, 1955, while serving in the Korean conflict, after which he was honorably discharged with the rank of sergeant. Whereas the residents of Parsippany elected Henry N. Luther to the Township Council in 1966 and was elected as mayor in 1967 and re-elected in 1973. Now, therefore, I, Michael Anthony Soriano, Mayor of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, do hereby proclaim the first Monday of June as Henry N. Luther III Day. Dated this day, February 2018. Michael, Dean, Mark, come on up.
You don't get any money for it. On behalf of my sister and myself, I do want to thank Mayor Soriano and the Parsippany Council for this recognition. My father really loved Parsippany, but he would tell me to be brief here because he wouldn't want to stand in the way of the council meeting. But he'd be thrilled to know that bipartisan representation has come back to Parsippany. The fact that it's a majority female council, he'd say it means Parsippany's being run correctly now. But I have to tell you, he got to be mayor by accident, because what happened was he was at church in the early 60s, and Captain Kennedy from the Parsippany Police Department is here, but his dad approached my father and asked him if he wanted to run for council. My father said he wasn't sure. He'd have to check with my mom and also with the attorney that just hired him, it was Stephen Neville in Denville. And when he talked to Mr. Neville said, "You're going to run as a Democrat. You'll never win, but it'll be great for your exposure. Go ahead." Well, little did they know, Mayor Walsh was the lead candidate on the ticket. His ticket swept the election. He came in. Unfortunately, because of the illness with Mayor Walsh, my dad became the mayor, but it was never his intention. But he thought that he was the luckiest man alive because of being approached by Mr. Kennedy that day at church. So again, thank you to everybody for this recognition that you've given to him, and thank you, Mayor Soriano.
Okay. I would like everyone to turn their attention to the back door. Outside there in the hallway is where Henry Luther's plaque is. We're going to do the unveiling right now, okay?
Yeah, just, he might not realize, I'm not gonna, because he might not realize that.
All right, get back to your council meeting, all right?
Very athletic meeting. Standing. You're welcome.
Mr. Council President, that concludes my report.
Okay. Let me take a 5-minute break for the refreshments.
Yeah, 5-minute
recess. Entertain a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Motion, yes, made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
We're recessed for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Both of you came. Let's take a break.
We're back on the record.
Entertain a motion to reconvene.
Motion.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mrs. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
We are back in public session.
Council
Okay,
President,
yes.
before we continue on with the meeting, while the Luthers are still here, could I say a few
Yes,
words?
that's exactly what I was going to.
I was hoping to have some time to say it when everyone was here, but I go back to Henry Luther when he was a councilman, and then a mayor, then a township attorney. And I have, at all times, Henry Luther was a gentleman, respectful of everybody, and he had a phenomenal memory. He could remember everybody he's ever met. We'd be going, even down in Atlantic City at the League Convention, he'd be introducing me to 20, 30, 40 people, you know, that we just bump into. It. Phenomenal memory. And always a gentleman. And I also have to say for Michael, the apple didn't fall far from the tree, because
Yes.
Michael, too, always a gentleman. And I always respected your dad.
You're here.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Township Council?
I have one thing to report regarding Beverly Casper's question about the lights being turned off on her block. Last week, Matt Clarkin, Khaled, the mayor, and I met with the town engineer, and tomorrow we'll be meeting with the community liaison from JCP&L to figure out what the systems are for figuring out what lights are working. It seems like right now it's only a reactive system, not a proactive system. So tomorrow at 9 a.m. we will be meeting to continue figuring out how to keep the lights on.
Thank you.
Emily, can I just ask, are you meeting with Obromsky, Michael, or someone else higher up?
I think someone higher up.
Okay. Anderson?
I can check.
Okay.
I don't
Only
know off the top of
because
my head.
I also want to give you the card of he's our liaison now, Mike Obromsky, but he's moving, and there's another person who I just want to make sure you have that card
Okay.
as well. 'Cause the more contacts you have, the better it is when you're trying to get something done through them.
Sure, and
Okay.
that might be something to share with Matt Clarkin as well.
I will. I'll
Yeah.
give it. In fact, that's who I'll give it to.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think that's
Good.
best. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Township Attorney?
I have nothing for public session. We have a closed session tonight.
Business Administrator? Sandman?
Thank you. One of the things that, since I came back in June, that's been on this agenda is what we received from Justin Leza with regard to the work that's being done at the engineering department. I asked him to, but he's a very shy kind of guy, and he's not into fanfare. But there are two items on the engineering report that I just want to make a hay with and draw it to your attention. We've been talking about, way prior to my arrival, the Manor Lake Dam. It is finished. It is done. It is, I mean, that, please. I mean, those of you who were here before me, how many times did you hear, council action not required, no action required, no action? Well, we finally got action. We finally have the Manor Lake Dam completed. There's a few punch list items, but all in all, it came out great. We worked as close as we could with all the residents that surrounded it. We had always a few bumps in the road, but we handled them professionally, and the staff and Paul, who was the leader of that particular project, followed it through, and it's complete. So that is a long time in the making. And then secondly, we've been talking about these numbers. These are heady numbers. The FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Project, and you've known I've talked about, thank you Mike Hardy for giving us Julie and Justin Leza and Emily, and then another Emily though, but that must be in the name. And then also Karen. They have submitted 7 requests for reimbursement, in totaling $5,698,876.64. To date, this is a remarkable number. To date, we have received reimbursements totaling $4,798,700. and $3, and we won't even forget that 23 cents, because we worked hard to even get that. So I just, my hat's off to, they do not just give you the money. You have to go through, jump higher, and then they say, oh, I got this piece of paper, and even though they lost it 3 times on you. This is just a remarkable, and don't think we're done yet, because on the additional money that we're still requesting, there will be some more big numbers coming our way. So I'm just not amazed, because we really have good, hard-working people that are dedicated, and with all the other things they have going, these things, again, just don't happen. We're working hard on the budget. We are pretty much closing out, having met and having the mayor meet with all the department heads. So you'll be getting together, and I'm sure shortly we'll be getting together with the finance office, finance group. So that's all I have. But again, a great salute to the men and women who work really hard to not only deliver a great dam. I wanted to say that. No, the dam. They delivered on the dam, but also on the funding as well. So it's just not all about projects and funding. It's about good people doing their work. You know, that it's not just it's a commitment to excellence, and we have a lot of good people. So again, as you just heard, and John is so humble. The other day he calls me up. He said, I've been hearing rumors they want to honor us, and I said, of course, absolutely. So, I can't imagine, and as the mayor's saying, when you're in this hole and you're digging, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's 0 degrees, and your hands are cold and wet, God bless you. There, but I'll have to be bringing a cup of coffee and stop, just thanking you. We should show up and say, here, thanks, and put it down into the. Thank you again. Very good. Good job.
Township Clerk,
No report at this time, Council President.
Township Offices, Committees, Reports.
Mr. President, yes. I have 2 items from the Board of Education. This Thursday at 7 o'clock at Parsippany Hills High School, they will be giving out the Fall Student Awards. And on Thursday, February 22nd at 7 o'clock, the budget they will be having discussions on the budget, and it would be at the board office on Parsippany Road. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Although she's not on the agenda, I would like, the finance officer has some things to report. As we said, going forward, the finance director will be coming to certain things that need her expertise and her passion to express what else is going on in the finance department, and she wants to address a couple of things that are on the agenda.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
pretty
go ahead.
much everything I have on there today. So, one is the ordinance. We're introducing some changes, minor changes to the Knoll rates. One of them, just to point out, is that we're eliminating the late joining fee, which was ridiculous anyway. So that's good for the members, and also the mandatory $41 charges that they were charged every year, which they really didn't get the services for that $41. So I put a memo together to explain the detail of that for you. But it is an ordinance, and we do have to amend it that way. I also have 4 more resolutions on that are basically housekeeping. The first one is, at the end of the year, I evaluate all the grants to see which ones expire. Sometimes they're reimbursement grants. So, for example, the police, they have distracted driving to the max would be $6,500. Well, they only spent and got reimbursed maybe $5,500. So we have to cancel that, and that has to be done by resolution. So it has no effect on any of the revenues or expenditures. It's just clearing up the books. So that's that one. The appropriation transfer, I needed to reclassify some debt expenditures, minor thing. You're going to see it in your package. The auditor asked me to put that on. The other thing is a budget appropriation reserve. I know it's boring, right? But it's just transferring money from last year a little bit around. We're still paying last year's bills. And last but not least is what they call an emergency temporary appropriation. At the beginning of the year, we are allowed to put 26.25% of the prior year budget into the temporary budget. That's fine for the first time, but what happens is the pension is due in full in another couple of weeks, and that's almost $5 million, $6 million. Although that's throughout the whole year, the very first time I put it on, it's only 25%. So what we do is we put more money into the budget. That's all that's doing. However, it's temporary. Your actual budget will override all of this. So it's maybe half of the year, okay? It's a terrible title called emergency. I don't know why it's called that, but, and those are my resolutions.
Excuse me, Mr. President, if I may ask a question.
Yeah.
In the resolution number 4.
That's a typo.
Yes.
It's 2018.
No, that's right.
Okay. I saw that there was $1 million for the library.
Yes.
And that was the Mills
Yes.
formula that they're, okay,
Yes.
excellent.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see that number. Thank you.
Council President,
They are too.
I would just like to voice my objection to not having our chief financial officer listed as a speaker on the reports. I felt that she should
Just-
be here. She's an asset, and she shares a lot of information with us. And all that does is puts an extra burden on our business administrator, which I don't think is necessary. I'd like to see Ann Cucci back on this list.
Okay.
Is there any support for that from other council members?
I think Ellen, I know you had mentioned, we're going to have, Ann will be here when there's anything pertaining
Yes,
to
yes,
her
and-
office.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
she
and-
may be
and-
here more than
yes.
not.
And
but
and in
it's just gonna
deference,
be-
I hear what you're saying, Councilman DePiero, but for the sake of not to embarrass anybody or to work with each other, that would be something, we'll have a sidebar on that and we'll talk to that. But I appreciate you caring about my efforts and Ann, but
Yeah.
we'll
Thank
you know, put Paul on the spot. Because he
Okay.
told me don't put him on the spot, so.
Okay.
Who was that?
Don't put Paul. Yeah, no, but thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other council members? All right, engineering report, Manor Lake Dam. Construction of the dam and dredging of the lake is complete. Minor punch list items like placing topsoil and grass seed will be finished in the spring. This completes a very long and arduous project that was first started in 2004 when the need for the dam replacement was identified. No council action required. FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Project, all construction-related work is complete. We have submitted 7 requests for reimbursement in the total amount of $5,698,876.64. To date, we have received reimbursements totaling $4,798,703.23.
And I want to add, that is worth repeating, thank you. That was worth repeating.
No council action required. Road improvement projects, all unfinished road improvement projects have been stopped for the winter. Work will continue in the spring once the more favorable weather. New improvement projects are in design and will be ready for bidding over the next few months. No council action is required. Roadway improvement project in design. The following major projects are in design and will be ready for bid in the spring. Lake Parsippany Streets, PH 6, Mount Tabor Streets, PH 3, Moraine Area Streets, PH 2, Old Bloomfield Ave, PH 1, Knoll Road improvements, and a 2018 road resurfacing program. Bids, none taken, to be taken, quotations, proposals, qualifications. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Seconded?
Motion made by Councilmember DePiero, seconded by Councilmember Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open to the public.
If you come up, please state your name, your address, sign in. You'll be given 5 minutes.
I'm always first, that's why I sit there in front. Mary Przicki, 273 Marcella Road. The last council meeting, I was here with my concerns about the legalization of marijuana. And Councilman DiPiero had suggested a resolution be adopted on a position to take that the legislature and the governor should go a little bit more slowly on on the legalization and to really look at all the consequences and the fact that marijuana really is a drug. So I went online and I found New Jersey responsible approaches to the marijuana policy. They are not just ordinary people making statements that they can't back up. They believe that marijuana, don't legalize it. Be it guided by science, not by dollars. Promote a balanced public health approach. Reduce criminal penalties with responsible policies protecting our health. These men who organize this are not just anybody. They are Dr. Kevin Sabet, founder and president of this organization. He served under 3 presidents, both Clinton, Bush, and Obama, as a staff policy drug staffer that served under both Democrats and Republicans. And his feelings are very strong about this. He does not believe that recreational marijuana doesn't have harm. Okay, the other one is former Congressman Patrick Kennedy. And our governor swore on the Kennedy Bible, so he must know him pretty well. He is the sponsorship of the Mental Health Party and Addiction Equality Act of 2008. He also agrees that marijuana is a drug and can cause consequences that we're not really looking at. So I looked at what they wrote too, and just on clarification, the difference between medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. The THC in medical marijuana is carefully controlled. In recreational marijuana, specifically designed to have as much THC as possible. Medical marijuana is sold by prescription only as a drug for medical use. THC is known to impair physical function in users, including reaction time when driving. THC can alter a user's ability to perceive danger. Marijuana can affect the development of the minds in young people. Recreational marijuana is sold as candy, cookies, soft drinks, not just smoked. It's sent young people in Colorado in a larger amount to emergency rooms. In Colorado, marijuana offenses in elementary schools and high schools have increased 34% since legalization is 74% above the national average. The percentage of all traffic fatalities where where the driver listed positive for marijuana increased from 7.9% in 2009 to 21% in 2015, since the legislation of marijuana was approved in Colorado. These are just some of the problems occurring in Colorado. You can check the statistics by going to the source, which is the Colorado Bureau of Investigation.
One minute.
Oh, crap. The bill to legalize to legalize and tax recreational marijuana proposed in New Jersey state legislature would put the sales tax at 7%, and that would escalate over 5 years to 25%. I pay more tax on my gas, which is a necessity, than they're going to pay on what they eat or smoke. Okay? Colorado charge, I won't even say that, okay. The street dealers can and are still selling marijuana for less than store prices. I mean, a bargain is a bargain. When you're on the street and somebody says, I'll save you the sales tax, what are you gonna do, okay? Just think about it. Please consider the resolution as proposed by Michael DiPiero at the last council meeting to send our concerns, or myself as constituent, that the state must go slowly and really look at what the consequences will be if this is legalized in the state of New Jersey, and not depend on it to solve their budgetary problems. problems, because that's greed.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mary. Thank you.
Just as a note, Mary did send me a sample resolution. I will attempt to modify it for Parsippany's purposes and then give it to our township attorney for the legalese.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mary.
Nick Komiak, Lake Hiawatha. I just wanted to make a little comment here on these road improvement designs and projects. I think one thing that's even more important than the designs and the projects is keeping the streets clean. And not only Parsippany, but everywhere you look, there's very little street cleaning, either by municipality, by people, by business owners. The plastic is all over the place. It's disgusting. So you're going to improve the street, but the pollution and the plastic is going to be there without street cleaning and without enforcement of the ordinance. What's the sense of having an ordinance? A cop pulls me over. Oh, I was speeding. Oh, it's just I didn't mean to speed. Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it. You're not going to get a ticket. That don't happen. But what ordinances that are building up, quality of life ordinances, people are supposed to be responsible for their immediate property. And take a look around anywhere. I can't find any place that's clean anymore. Maybe some of these people should start smoking pot and taking a look around. Maybe it'll open up their minds and see all this trash and stop denying what's, conscious expansion drug. Might be a positive thing. And excuse me for saying drug, because marijuana is not a drug. The street cleaning, and the other thing, when these improvements are made, are they changing the storm drains? We have, this town and every place is full of these old storm drains with the wide mouth. It just makes it easier for all that stuff to get into the sewer. So you have dirty streets, dirty rivers. And another thing, all this affection for the puppy dog that's going on, the dog is innocent, but you know what the owners are doing in the convenience society? They'll put it in the bag and they toss it. And you know where they toss it? In the sewer. If you look at the Troy Brook storm water study that they did for all the lakes around here and everything, Rutgers University, 2007, all these lakes are full of fecal matter. It's coming from various sources, but a lot of it is from dogs. And there's a new phenomenon, and you could Google it if you want. It's called cyanobacteria, and then it generates into a toxin. They found it down here on the Passaic River. They analyzed it in Montclair University. It's from stormwater runoff, and the main ingredient is dog waste. It's something like in the strongest country in the world, oh, we're going to make more atomic bombs and everything. Why don't we do something about identifying people who aren't responsible, not only for cleaning the street, picking up after their dog? In the state of Israel, when you have a dog, they DNA the dog. You leave dog crap on the sidewalk, they know exactly whose dog it is. And if you keep it up, you do it more than once, that's the end of you and your puppy dog. Not you, but your puppy dog. So, the mightiest country in the world, we need something like this, because the cumulative effect of all this consumption society it's going to overwhelm us. Like Khrushchev said, we will bury you. What he really meant is you people are going to bury yourself with your system of consumption. If you really do the interpretation in Russian, which I had somebody do for me one time, that's what he really said. And it's all coming to pass. It's all coming to pass. Corporations are people, but people aren't people anymore. So if they make the waste, they leave it up to you. And the only thing that we have, if you're not a responsible person, is the laws and ordinances that we must enforce, or it's just going to get worse. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick, to answer your one question, I know going around the town and seeing some of the new resurfacing and the road work and drainage, they are putting new storm drains with a much narrower
Yes.
opening. So those things that you're talking about cannot go down into them.
Like my street, for example, when they put the gas line in, they did half of the street. And that half of the street, because it was only half of the street, the old sewer storm drains, they didn't change them.
Right. That's the gas line, and there's some other neighborhoods. The gas company is only resurfacing the side of the road that they actually did the work on. They're not redoing the whole thing, so that's not part of our project. That's the gas company is the one that's doing that work.
I'm just saying, the greatest country in the
Right.
world, maybe they could have coordinated something. But
Yeah, I got you.
You know, all right.
Excuse me, Ellen, I think I remember last year you were mentioning something about the sweep, the machine that sweeps the
Yes,
street, that there
yes.
was a problem with one of them. Only one was working.
Oh, yeah, that's all, we have new
Every-
ones.
so
We're
we
out
have
there
new
with
ones
sweeps,
now?
And we also have the smaller version to get out and get on the sidewalks
Okay.
and everything.
So
that-
do they clean this up? Do they clean up the bottles and the trash and the?
Well, he'll say no, but, they are out there, and then, people have a tendency after they clean up, they mess up again, so, I can get a report from, Greg Schneider, the DPW, who works in concert with our recycling person, and, it's a constant battle. It's a constant
So
battle.
there is a report?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
you pass it
yeah,
along?
yes.
Yeah.
They're primarily picking up the salt and sand debris that's on the road before it washes into the storm drains, which eventually gets down into the lakes if we don't sweep it up. So that's the priority. And in fact, where the township storm drains do flow into lakes, it's our highest priority is to do those first, so it doesn't fill up the catch basins too quickly.
That's correct. But they are trying to do all of that with also the recyclables and the trash. And we are trying to, I know we have a recycling coordinator that his main function is to go out to the areas of commerce, and a lot of times he'll be talking to one, and that's not the person that really, it's in front of their store, because just like with parking, why would I park in front of my store? I'll park in front of your store so I can have my customer park there. Well, they do the same thing with trash and recyclables, so it's a constant where it is. But he's on the case.
Well, yeah, there is a report then,
yes.
yeah.
And again, I will say this for the record, there's nobody like Nick Homiak for getting out there every day. He definitely puts, well, all right, so, come on, take the compliment. I mean, I see you at the Knoll cleaning up for how many years, right? And on a Sunday or a Saturday, so.
Okay, we're still in open session, right?
Yes.
Okay, was I gone on too long?
Your 5 minutes is up.
Ann and I are gonna have little signs, go back to 3 minutes, go back. I'm only kidding. I'm Irish, we talk.
I'm part Irish, but I'm not going to take more than a couple minutes. My name is Davy Willens, 8 Jamaica Road, Morris Plains. Yay for Parsippany. I'm a longtime member at the Knoll Country Club, honorable citizen here, and must say that I look at the Knoll Country Club as one of the biggest assets in this town. Even if you don't play golf, it serves this community incredibly well by bringing some 40,000 people a year to the community for various outings and whatever. There's a group there called the Advisory Committee. It's a group of dedicated citizens that live in this town that also are pretty avid golfers and also have a lot of expertise when it comes to managing golf businesses and knowing how they could be run and managed. It's our concern, and I think since Ann Cucci was involved with that group, it's come a long way, and with Glenn Fussell, it's come a long way from what it was. But the Advisory Committee is desirous to provide an advisory service to the administration and to the township to make better decisions for the utilization and capitalization of that utility and not be just advised. We would like to help in the advisory capacity more completely, and particularly at this time in transition when we're looking at some changes coming up in the pro shop, as well as the superintendent not being readily available on a daily basis. We feel that there should be a subcommittee or something like that utilized by the administration to assist in some of these decisions going forward and taking a look at them, because they're pretty significant decisions you're going to be having to deal with. And with all due respect, we believe that we have, trying to get 12 members of a group to agree on anything, it's like herding cats. I wouldn't recommend that the advisory committee be asked how to resolve these issues, but we would ask that their input be provided on key decisions you need to be making before they're made, so that possibly we can help support them and make better decisions going forward. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I got to officially sign this, right?
Yes. See no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion?
Second?
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mrs. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Okay, we're closed.
Okay, ordinances, status of adopted ordinances, introduction. Everyone can just take a look at those. Any questions?
And again, one of the things that the clerk, the administrator, and the finance officer are committed to the mayor and council as well as the public is to give you more informed, detailed descriptions of what is going on, give you the backup, tell you what other numbers were with regard to the fee ordinances, because you're correct. Why you should not vote on certain things that you're not informed with. We are doing our best. We can do better. We will do better. So
Thank you.
I just want to let you know.
Okay, non-consent agenda. Mr. DePiero?
Okay, it's my pleasure to read Resolution 2018-031. Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills reappointing Ann M. Cucci as Chief Financial Officer of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mrs. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mrs. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Congratulations, Ann.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Council.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. McCarthy?
Applications are 2018-032, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Hills authorizing a person-to-person transfer of plenary retail consumption license for Troy Hills Hospitality LLC from Mount Holleran Town Tavern LLC.
Second?
Motion made by Mrs. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, consent agenda. Please take a look at the consent agenda.
Council
Anyone have any
President?
questions? Yes.
Item 7.
Okay.
I've looked at the resolution that this resolution is talking about for clubhouse operation and management services. There really is not enough information there for me to determine what financial gain we would have by doing this, and I would want to make sure that if we outsource operation of the pro shop, that it's not a first step to outsourcing the entire Knoll Country Club. I would strongly recommend that Ann and whoever else was involved meet with the advisory committee. Davey Willens stole my thunder, but that's okay. We're on the same page. I would like the committee to discuss this and to understand exactly what benefits there are to do this.
May I speak to this?
Absolutely.
This is simply a resolution to allow us to go to competitive contracting. It has nothing to do with anything saying we're going to do anything. This allows us to put out a little bit a different type of bid, because the 2 bids we received were not complete. So what this does is it gives us the right to get a bunch of criteria that we decide we want, and we rate those criteria, and everyone is open to this. This opens up to George, it opens up to whoever was once before bidding, but it gives us a way to it doesn't have to be the lowest bidder. That's all this resolution does, okay? It gives us a right to go beyond and rate them. That's all it is. And then we'll speak to the advisory board before we make a decision. It just opens up the bid process.
I just would like to understand, if we have an outside outsourcing the pro shop, what advantage, I don't understand.
Well, it's not outsourcing the pro shop.
It really is.
Well, no, it opens up the bid process for us to get more bids. It could include pros, it could include outside, but we need more people. We did not get decent bids at all. We rejected both of them, and this gives us an opportunity to be able to solicit more bids.
All right, so it's going to increase our base of selection.
Yes,
is
that's
what you're
all this
saying.
is.
That's correct.
Okay, then let me put my request a different way then.
Okay.
Will the advisory committee be involved before we make a selection?
Yes, we will have that conversation.
Okay. Thank you.
Or some of the people, I believe we're going to select some people from the advisory. I don't think it's the whole committee.
It's not going to be the whole committee.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely, I'll find out and get back to you, but this is just opening it up. It's too broad right now. I mean, not broad enough. We need to open it up to the public out
Okay.
there. All right, I think it's the right thing to do.
I did not want to table this because we're into February.
We need to do this.
We need to do something right away.
Okay, any other?
Yes,
Questions?
Mr. President, I
Yes.
have a question. On number 6, the major soil moving permit, they're going to be moving 2,688 cubic yards. We had an ordinance on January the 2nd for this property, but it was the same block number, but not the lot numbers. So the lot numbers in January were lot number 44 and 43.4. This one is 43.5. What are they doing on that property that they're moving? I remember when I was on the Board of Adjustment, 2,600 cubic yards is quite a few truckloads that are coming out of that property.
May I?
Yes.
The planning board reviews all applications.
Yes.
And this is, the township council gets a recommendation from the planning board when a soil moving permit is approved by them. They actually have all the answers you're asking. Which lot and block, how much, what routes will be taken, what times of the day the trucks are allowed to route, and also how many trucks will be involved. All of those questions are asked at the planning board before it comes to us. We can get those answers from the planning board, but they have all those answers.
Okay.
And we'll have them because this is a consent agenda, so we'll have it for next week.
Okay, thank you
We'll
very
have
much.
it prior to next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no other questions? Mrs. Peterson?
Resolution, whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills v. James Carifi, docket number MRS L260413, Carifi 2. And whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Parsippany Troy Hills that the public be excluded from this meeting. Motion to adjourn into closed session by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Peterson, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes?
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay. We are going into closed session.
Entertain a motion to reconvene.
Motion?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mrs. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes?
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Okay, we're back into public session.
Motion to adjourn? Or we're gonna we're gonna vote now?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
you can't vote now.
All right. I just wanna go home.
You're going to authorize execution.
Okay.
So the mayor and clerk will be authorized to execute. You want to read that into the record? Or? I can read that into the record. As a result of closed session, I'm going to go ahead and read a resolution for council to act on in the Karifi 2 matter, captioned, Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills approving settlement in the Township of Troy Hills v. James Karifi, docket number MRS-L-2064-13. Whereas the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills is a party to a pending lawsuit entitled Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills v. James Karifi, docket number MRS-L-2604-13, collectively referred to as the lawsuit, and whereas a trial in the lawsuit was scheduled to begin on February 5th, 2018, and whereas special counsel for the township engaged in settlement negotiations with attorney for the defendant, Mr. Karifi, and whereas the said negotiations have resulted in a comprehensive settlement of the lawsuit as set forth in the proposed settlement agreement and consent order, whereas council has reviewed the settlement reflected in the proposed settlement agreement and consent order and determined that settlement is in the best interest of the township and furthermore avoids the time, expense, and risk associated with the continuation of the lawsuit. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris and the State of New Jersey that the settlement of the lawsuit is hereby approved in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the proposed settlement agreement and consent order, and that special counsel for the township is hereby authorized and directed to effect said settlement. Be it further resolved that the township officials and employees are hereby authorized and directed to take to take all actions necessary and appropriate to effectuate the terms of this resolution. And I think there was one technical clarification that we'd like to offer to the resolution, and that is that the settlement proposal would be subject to an acknowledgement of Mr. Karifi, that any accumulated leave time will be credited against any amounts recovered in the Karifi 1 and 3 matters. That's for council to act on.
Okay, so resolution 2018-33, stating the resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills approving settlement in the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills versus James Karifi, docket number MRS L2604-13. We need a motion.
Motion?
Need a second? Okay, a motion made by Mrs. Peterson, seconded by Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
No.
Mrs. Grignani,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, three yeses, 1 no. The motion passes. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Motion by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mrs. Peterson, was it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, Mrs. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Mrs. Grignani,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
We're adjourned. Have a good night.
Good evening.